Hello everyone, Dr. John here. How are you? Happy Sunday. Today is Sunday, March 15th, and it is 4:18, almost 4:20, while we're filming this update. So just a quick disclaimer, the information I'm sharing is obviously in a sea change of information and events that are unfolding in our state, in our country, in our world. And so obviously this is what I know right now around 4:20 on March the 15th. The other thing I want to say is that I'm primarily doing these videos for my students, but so many of you who are my family and friends and colleagues have responded how much you like these videos. I just want to welcome you as well to these video updates. So with that said, dear students, hi. So the world's quickly evolving in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So I want to go over a couple key things as you're entering spring break. This will be the last update that I send to you that I push out, because I do want you to have a true spring break. So whatever you're doing in terms of rest or recreation, I'm not going to bug you after today so that you actually have a week off, okay? Now, if you want to continue to follow me, I will continue to do these posts about every other day on YouTube, but this is going to be the last that you hear from me for the week, all right? So that's just a quick disclaimer there. So the first thing I want to say is that I just want to remind my students that at SRJC, everything is suspended in terms of classes, both on ground and online, through Sunday, March 29th. Obviously, things may change beyond that, but we know that we will not be serving students in person through March 29th. So keep that in mind. And this is a standard that was set by the Sonoma Department of Health Services and the Office of Education. So kudos to our school for following those directions. In the meantime, faculty, when we come back on the 23rd, we're going to be working on alternative methods of instruction that include remote instruction and online instruction and different ways to serve you given the nature of this crisis. So stay tuned with developments as those emerge. So what do we know? As of this morning, there are over 3,000 cases of COVID-19 in 49 states. And we know that number is probably an underreport because very few tests are being done at this stage. Just for a comparison, I thought this was interesting. This is all from the New York Times. 1 week ago, there were less than 500 cases. So in 1 week, nationwide, we've gone from 300 cases to less than 500 cases to 3,100 cases. That is an enormous jump. We're obviously up, right? Sliding up the bell curve. For the last 3 days, there's been more than 400 new cases reported each day, and there's been over 50 deaths across the country. So this is obviously a very, very serious situation. And as of yesterday, the first community spread case of coronavirus, COVID-19, was identified in Sonoma County. So COVID-19 is in Sonoma County being transmitted in the community, and we had our first case yesterday. If you look at what's happening in Europe, it's sweeping through Europe at a much more accelerated, exponential rate. Italy has been hit particularly hard, as has been Spain. And these countries are locking down and closing their borders, and they're locking down and closing a lot of the daily life that we take for granted. And we're going to talk more about that. This morning I was watching Meet the Press because I'm a 50-year-old gay white dude, and that's what I do at 8 o'clock in the morning on Sundays. And Dr. Anthony Fauci, who's the director of National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Disease. I don't know if you're following him, but you should be. He's really, really sharp. He's really smart. He's giving us a lot of good information. This stood out to me in what he said this morning. This is a direct quote. Americans should be prepared that they are going to have to hunker down significantly more than we as a country are doing. So I think that is really important to think about. You've heard this term social distancing, right? So this idea that you need to keep 3 to 6 feet away from people around you when you're in public. And so what they also talked about this morning is that social distancing and isolation can lead to anxiety, and it can lead to further sort of feelings of hopelessness. And so we're going to talk about maybe how to mitigate that and how to avoid those feelings of anxiousness. And I definitely get anxious and depressed. I try to, run and swim and do exercise to correct that. Sometimes I bark at the boyfriend when I shouldn't be, but he's very patient with that. So hopefully you have some loving people in your life too. Let's talk about what social distancing is and what it means for you. So in San Francisco, where I live, any events that had 100 people or more are canceled. Just an hour or so ago, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, ordered that everyone over 65 actually stay at home, not go out, and he's ordering all bars and wineries and breweries closed. So this is still very quickly developing. We don't know what that's going to mean ultimately, but if you're outdoors, a good barometer is if you're going to have an outdoor gathering, you want less than 50 people. And if you're indoors with kids, you want fewer than 10 children. And these are suggestions that folks are following in Washington State, in King County, where they've had a big outbreak. Now, let's see. So why are we social distancing? Well, a big reason we're social distancing is because, and this is something that I've been reading a lot about and learning about, this COVID-19 virus, there's a couple things about it. One is it doesn't live in the air, right? Like I'm outside, it doesn't actually live in the air the way that it lives on like plastic surfaces or metal. And so if you're outdoors and you're walking and you're staying away from people, you're pretty good in terms of your protection. But the reason that we're social distancing is because what they found is that people who have the COVID-19 virus, they don't actually show, in some cases, the symptoms for up to 4 days. And in those 4 days, they're transmitting the disease. So in other words, when people are symptomatic, when they're showing signs that they're sick, that's often when people are most infectious. But with COVID-19, there are several studies and many evidence-based studies to demonstrate that when COVID-19 patients are asymptomatic, meaning they don't show symptoms, they're actually transmitting the disease, and they're transmitting it at a much higher rate because their viral load is higher. So this is particularly important because young people can be transmitters without knowing it. And because folks over 65 and folks who have diabetes or who are autoimmune, because those folks are more susceptible, if they're around young people who are transmitting and they don't know it, well, you can see where this would create a vector for more community spread. And so that's why there's all these recommendations to stay at home, to stay away from other people, to not share food. It's going to take some practice, but it's important that we do this in order to stem the tide. Now, and I know this update's a little bit more serious maybe than some of the other ones that I've done, but obviously we're in a serious situation, and so we're going to talk levity at the end, and you know how I am, we're going to talk about hope too, right? So hang with me just for another minute, all right? Now, so what do we need to do right now, right? So this idea that we need to hunker down. We've seen a lot of folks panic shopping over the last 72 hours, right? And I'm sure you've seen the stories, or maybe you've been in the store. You've seen the long lines, you've seen the arguments, you've seen carts filled with groceries. There's a lot of shopping that is happening right now. There's been a run on immediate resources in that shopping. So I'm going to make a couple suggestions. One is that in California, we have emergency preparedness as part of our DNA. In general, it's wise to have about 14 days of supplies at any time, regardless of the reason why. That's particularly important now that we're in this sort of social distancing pandemic situation. So whatever you need to do to get together, maybe about 14 to 21 days of supplies in the event that you need to stay at home, I would do that. The other thing I would say is take stock of what you need first, right? So do an inventory of what's in your house and then only buy what you need to fill those 14 days. Don't panic buy, don't overbuy. When we overbuy, we're taking resources away from other people who need them. Buy what you need, no less and no more, all right? The other things is wash your hands. I saw a good tip, wash your hands before you go out of the house, wash your hands after you come back in, don't touch your face, have wet wipes, you know, and just be kind and reach out to one another, right? You may not be able to hang out with your friends, call them on the phone, right? You have a phone. I know a lot of you just text, right? The phone actually works to talk to somebody too, right? Do FaceTime, right? You could do that. Let's stay connected, right? We can do these videos with one another. We can talk on the phone. We can write some letters, read a book, right? Chill out on Netflix, right? Like do what you need to do to stay sane and stay balanced, all right? I said we were going to end on a positive note, and we're here in sunny Golden Gate Park, and so we're going to do that. I'll show you my cute outfit too here at the end. But one of the things that I've been noticing is that online, so this is what I run in, right? Now, and these are meggings, right? These are meggings. They're leggings, but you know, guys have weak masculinity, and so they call them meggings. Anyway, you want to stream free opera? The Met is going to run free opera starting this week, starting tomorrow. Museums have collections that are open online. There's been many links that I've seen of videos of Italians singing from their balcony. I mean, it looks like every Italian has a mandolin or a tambourine at this point, but Italians are singing to one another from their balconies as they're in a lockdown situation, right? The human spirit is resilient. We will get through this, and we can do it lovingly, we can do it kindly, we can do it cooperatively. The other silver lining to this is that in China, there are blue skies above Wuhan. Birdsong has returned to the city, right? The coal burning plants that run 24/7 producing all of our luxury items that we've come to love, right? We can actually do something about climate change really quickly if we want to. I don't think we should lose that in this moment, right? Pollution, carbon emission is going down radically as we slow things down. How do we remain economically productive and take care of the planet? We can actually do it, right? There's evidence to show already that we can do it. The last thing I want to leave you with is my niece, Willa. She posted this short passage on Facebook this morning, and this came from a man named Brother Richard, who lives in Ireland. He wrote this yesterday. This is an excerpt from what he wrote. All over the world, people are waking up to a new reality, to learn to how big we really are, to how little control we have, to what really matters, love. Love is what matters. Love is the end game. Be kind, be gentle, be loving to one another. I love you all. To all of my students, have a wonderful spring break. I'll see you in a week. It might be like this. And I'm thinking of you, and feel free to reach out, call, text. I guess don't come and give me a hug because of the whole social distancing thing, but we can hug over email or hug via FaceTime, all right? I love you all. Peace out. Be well. Take good care of one another. Bye-bye.